TLDR, we're finishing projects in 2026. We're finishing what we have. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hillary, and if you're new here, I like to share quilting, sewing, and cross stitch tips, tricks, tutorials, floss tubes, sewing plans, a little bit of everything. Today is my 2025 end of year / 2026 beginning of year WIP Parade. Today is January 1st, 2026. And I'm really excited to go through all of these works in progress with you. I went through last night and inventoried everything to kind of look at it and see the status, so that we can kind of see where we're going. There are a few WIPs that I know I have started in the past that I can't find. So I assume they are in my closet somewhere amongst the chaos. If you come here often, welcome back. If you're new here, like I said, my name is Hillary. I am a quilter, sewist, cross stitcher, a little bit of everything. I like to make and create. I'm a mom. I've got 3 cats, a husband that tolerates all my crafty hobbies, and cats. He loves the cats too, but he just won't tell you. And I am a certified Disney adult. I was a skipper on the Jungle Cruise once upon a time, and I love to run, and I'm currently training to run the Run Disney Fairy Tale Challenge, half marathon, 5K, 10K, all of them in one weekend. I do a little bit of everything. I am inconsistent with uploading, but one of my goals for 2026 is to get better at uploading. So I really hope that I can bring that to fruition. So we shall see. I'm excited to share this WIP Parade and get inspired and kind of start the groundwork for what 2026 will hold in terms of cross stitch. So last night I went through my WIPs and I've kind of organized them roughly in timeline order from oldest to newest. Some of them are very old. So yeah, so everything is still in bags or their boxes or chaos that ensues. So we're just gonna go through and we're just gonna go for it, right? Done is better than perfect. So my first WIP, this might be a flashback, a nostalgia trip for my fellow millennials, but I'm currently keeping it in this Space Maker pencil box that used to be able to go in like your Trapper Keeper binder. I started this when I was a literal teenager, so it is definitely my oldest WIP, and it's probably my WIP that's closest to completion as well, which is kind of depressing that it's so close to being done. I started slowly working on it again and found so many mistakes, and part of me is like, oh, I should rip it out and fix them, but then another part of me is like, no, that it's just leave it as is. You did this so long ago and it's very cute. So, oh, it's big. This is it was a Bucilla kit. And I actually found the pattern online. I found the pattern again online. It is, it can be found as a Cooler Designs pattern, and it might have been a kit, I don't remember, but I know for sure it was Cooler Designs on 1-2-3 stitch. I've done all of the cross stitches in this piece. It just needs the back stitching. It also needs to be cleaned. As you can see, I was not as diligent as I am now about making sure my hands were clean when I was stitching. I started it when I was a literal teenager. I hear a child coming. Where was I? So I really love this piece. I just need to finish the back stitching. You can see Santa. Oh, there he is. So cute, holding a little bear. At least 20 years old. Not organized. The floss is just loose in my little Space Maker pencil box. But yeah, that one's so cute. See, this is like trip down memory lane. I remember starting this as a teenager. Anyway, so that's number 1. Let's keep going. Where am I gonna put it? I'll put it there. Okay, my next one, I don't remember exactly when I started this, but I know it's an older kit because I stole it from my mom. Sorry, Mom. It's Bath Time Rules. It's a Janlynn kit. Super cute. Little piggy in the bath with the bunny. Brush your teeth. Really cute. Like I said, this one, it's copyright 1999. My mother probably bought it in 1999. I stole it somewhere along the way and started it. And this is what I've gotten so far. Cute little piggy and the little bunny. My issue with this one, and now it's better because I am a more experienced stitcher, but when I started it, it has a lot of half stitches, and when working on the Ada, you have to pierce the Ada through the middle, and I was using a sharps needle, which is what came with the kit, and which is great for doing those half stitches because it makes piercing the Ada easier, but as a less experienced stitcher, I was just uncomfortable with it. So now that I'm a more experienced stitcher, I feel like half stitches and piercing the Ada is no problem. And also, I didn't iron any of my WIPs because, like, part of me was like, oh, I should iron it so it looks nice, which would be nice. Would have been nice. But they're all just going to get folded back into the bag. And I really didn't want to stand at the iron and iron all of these projects. So sorry, they're wrinkled. They're going to go back in the bag. This one is being kept in this project bag that my friend Kelly made for me. I'm pretty sure she used the By Annie project bag pattern. So that's super cute. That's WIP number 2. Tossing them on the ground. All right, my next WIP, which is actually newer. I remember starting this in 2011. It is the Disney Dreams Thomas Kincaid collection pattern, and it is the Pinocchio. And so I've gotten a decent start on him. This piece, it's small. It's only going to finish at 5x7. It has a ton of backstitch, a ton of confetti. It has metallic threads. It has half stitches. It has 3/4 stitches. It is a complicated piece. And like I said, I started it in 2011, and I'll pick it up every now and then over the years, and it's gotten to the point where it's so close to a finish that I really just want to prioritize it and get it done. And I know the most annoying thing about this piece is going to be all of the backstitch. It's going to be a lot. And then I just keep it's in an Amazon bag that when I taught at QuiltCon, I made these for my class, for my students, and this one like was a bad one, like it's peeling, and so I was like, I'll just keep the bad one for myself. But it lives in here. And then I don't do this ever. This is my only project that I have the floss sorted like this, but these kits use their own floss. It's not DMC or anything, and it's got weird numbers. And so there's so much floss in so many different colors that I got floss away bags to store all my floss in for this. And it's been really nice because, like I said, there's so many colors and so many different things. And so it's been really nice to just keep it all contained. And I also like this because there's so much confetti and little stitches. It's like sometimes I do 2 stitches and then I'm done with the color. And so it's easy to be able to just put all the little bits away in the bag. So that's WIP number 3. My next WIP, which I think I started before that one, It is the Mickey Mouse self-portrait. This is one of the Art of Disney kits that you used to be able to buy in the parks. And actually, I'm pretty sure if you are a Disney person, you know, back in time, there used to be a store inside the castle. Like, you know how you can walk through the middle of the castle and there's all the beautiful mosaics on the wall, and there used to be a store in there, and it had like all the Arribas brothers, like glasswork stuff and tiaras and like collectibles and stuff and art, and it had a bunch of these kits, and I own several of the kits now. But that's where I bought them, because you could buy them there, and then you could also buy them at the Art of Disney shop in downtown Disney, or Disney Springs is now what it's called. I still call it downtown Disney. So this I bought back then, and I started this one, and it's a center start. It is a huge piece. I think it finishes at like 11 by 14. So that's my measly start on this piece. Mickey Mouse's ear and a little bit of the back of his head. It's a really cool pattern. I'm excited about it. The Walt piece right here is an iron-on transfer, which I really hope it still actually works. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, it's an iron-on transfer. I have it. We'll attempt that when the time comes. That's another one. I have, like I said, I have a few of these kits. I have another one that I'm working on as well, which I just realized I did not grab, so I'll have to grab that when I get to it on my list. I made a list. I'm so proud of myself for being organized. And unfortunately, this WIP, it lives in its packaging. I should make a bag for it, so it's not, because it's just open and could fall out. Okay, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 5, yeah, the next 5 WIPs are all frosted pumpkin stitchery patterns. I was mainly a kit stitcher. Like, as you can tell from the first 4 that we've gone over, they were all kits. I was a child of the craft store. I loved going to Garden Ridge once upon a time. I remember they used to have those little, like, it was just a little 3-inch, like, learn to cross stitch. I remember making several of those and giving them as friends when I was a teenager. And I loved a cross stitch kit. I have several of the Thomas Kincaid Disney kits that I bought when they first came out and weren't crazy expensive like they are now on eBay. So I love a kit. So frosted pumpkin stitchery was the first time I found a cross stitch pattern that wasn't like a mass market kit that you could get at the craft store. And I like fell in love, went on a binge of joining their stitch alongs and buying kits from them directly, and so I have several of them that I have not finished, but I love them and I want to finish them. So these were my first adventure into independent cross stitch designer patterns. And the first one I have here, and again, it's like so close to being done, it's shameful, is the Trick or Treat Costume Club. I stitched this on the called for fabric, which I believe is a Picture This Plus, and using the called for DMC. It's so cute. I love that, like, this is it. It'll finish over here, and then I still have a whole other piece of fabric to work with. It's super cute. I love it. My problem with most of these frosted pumpkin kits is that at some point in time I separated them from their flosses, and so I know I have the floss amongst my floss stash, because it's a combination of DMC and fancy floss, and like I know it exists, I've seen them, but I like de-kitted everything for some reason because I was dumb. So now I have to track down the flosses I was using so that I can go back and finish these. And thankfully, the patterns are digital downloads, so I still have access to those saved as PDFs on my computer. But yeah, that's the first one, Trick or Treat Costume Club. I love this Ada. This was also, working with these was the first time I ever worked with hand-dyed fabrics, which is like a whole new dangerous world. All right, my next frosted pumpkin. This start is such a sad little start. This is Happily Ever After. I still have my needle minder on here. It's just a sad little center start on this piece. Again, I'm using the called for fabric and floss, and I have the little floss card, but a little teeny tiny start on this one. Again, I need to track down where I put all the flosses so that I can get back to it. My next one, Frosted Pumpkin, was also my first adventure into stitching on non-Ada, so stitching on linen or even weave or something like that, which is a steep it's not like a steep learning curve, but it's definitely very different to stitching on Ada. This one is Halloween Town. Again, sorry I did not iron it. It's just gonna go back in the box. This one was a mystery stitch along, which I love. It's always fun. Again, I used the called for flosses, DMC combined with fancy floss, and the called for fabric. That one's so cute, the little scarecrow. That one's super wrinkled. And then this one, I kitted it up myself, and I purchased the called for fabric, but I did not buy a piece of fabric large enough. It is just barely large enough, but I did not take into account that I would need margins for any of it. And so I got really anxious when I started stitching this, and it was way bigger than I realized. And so I went in and I stitched in hoop. I like to stitch in hand if I have a pretty stiff Ada. I find that if I have a softer Ada or I'm working with a linen or even weave, that I'll pull my stitches too tight. And I don't like that the way it looks. And so I like to use a hoop when stitching on a linen or an even weave, just to make sure I can be consistent with my tension. And because my margins on this fabric were so terrible, I couldn't hoop it very well, and so I went through and I zigzagged a bunch of fabric around the piece to make sure that I was able to hoop it. And if you can see here at the top, like the top, it just fits, just barely, and then I stitched over to the side to make sure it would just fit. This is the Once Upon a Time sampler. It was a monthly stitch along, and I did February and May, and I started on June, and I have the name for March. So definitely behind on this one. I used the called for, but I was lazy and I did not buy the kit, and so I got a fabric that was too small. It's Picture This Plus doubloon. Okay. Where were we? My mom called and it threw me off. Yeah, so the Once Upon a Time sampler has terrible margins. It's a big piece. But I really want to finish it. That's the thing. Like, I pulled all of these out. I'm like, oh, I should finish that. So that's the plan, right? That's always the goal, finishing things. Does it always happen? No. But I wish it would. Also, I just realized with this one, I did a center start on it. And I feel like if I had started it higher up, or like started it like this on here, I could have used more of this fabric, but now I'm just gonna have like so much, because it's pretty narrow, the whole thing. That's things you learn as you become a more experienced stitcher, is where to start your projects so that you have leftover fabric, or, you know, better utilize your fabric. Okay, and then my final, this isn't my final frosted pumpkin, but this is my final older frosted pumpkin, is the Storytime Sampler. I keep it in this little pouch that I made. I've always called it the pancake pouch because it's just flat, which is kind of fun. I should write a tutorial for it because it's pretty easy to make. This one, I was smart and I kept all my floss together, but there's no pattern in this bag. Again, choices I made, don't know why. This is another one that I stitched on linen, and I have a decent little start on it. This is a Storytime Sampler, so each little motif has a character in the little frame, and then the top has like a little icon. So the Alice has a little vial, and then I know there's Peter Pan has a little hook, and it's a super cute one. This was probably roughly 10 years ago, so it was still very new to me. Very steep learning curve. I feel like now, if I pulled these out, I'd be able to go much quicker now that I'm more experienced stitching on linen. And so that's always the hope, right? To be able to do things faster. Okay, moving on. This is a newer stitch. It is the Shine Bright Sampler by Bonnie and Camille, or Shine On cross stitch. I did this is what it looks like. It is, I did it, or I'm doing it as a stitch along with the Fat Quarter Shop, and using a different color palette from the book, on 25 count even weave. This is what I have so far. Again, this is one I have to stitch in a hoop because my tension gets all wonky if I try and stitch in hand. This color palette is using the Aura Floss embroidery thread, and I'm really liking how it's coming together. I love a quilty inspired cross stitch. I need to serge the edges of this fabric because it keeps fraying. I'm very excited about this. It's going to be humongous, but it's a fun little stitch. And this one I actually stitched a bit on this past year in 2025. And there's also a quilt that matches that I'm tempted to make because why not? But for now, let's finish the cross stitch first, right? Next, I have, it lives in this QuiltCon cross stitch bag. It is the QuiltCon design that I made for my intro to cross stitch students when I taught intro, cross stitch for beginners at QuiltCon. This is the piece. I designed it based on the logo for QuiltCon Phoenix. So it has a cactus and it has the same colors that they used for the merch and everything like that. The only thing I need to do to finish, I have to finish QuiltCon here. And then I also had some back stitching and French knots on the cactus. And then that'll be all done. And so this was one of the patterns that I provided my students in that class. And it's actually a free pattern. I'm not allowed to sell anything that has the word QuiltCon on it. as it should be, right? So if you want this pattern, just drop me a comment or send me an email and I will send it to you, because it's super cute. And if you were at QuiltCon Phoenix and want to stitch it up, I'll send it to you. But yeah, it's just 3 colors, super cute. Just need to finish a little bit in that one. Maybe I can try and finish this before this year's QuiltCon, which is in like a month. My next WIP, it lives in this Fat Quarter Shop project bag. I really like the size and the shape of these bags, but I don't like that they are mesh, because I am a messy person and I have messy children. And so I always am a little worried that anything in a project bag like this is going to get dirty. And so if it's in a project bag, one of these, it stays home. It's not a travel bag because it's just, I'm too scared. This is the Autumn Spice cross stitch. For a little while, I was subscribed to Fat Quarter Shop's Stitch Quarterly, which every quarter they sent you the project bag with the pattern and the floss and the fabric and little extras. Like this one, it came with the little acorn needle minder and all the floss. And it was nice to have for a little while. I think I canceled after a year, so I have a few of them. This is my start. I guess it's more of a start. This is my progress. Autumn with the little leaves. It's kind of, I don't have a lot of autumn stitches or projects because we don't really have autumn as a season in Houston, Texas. It's like summer and then not summer and then winter but not winter. And so if I'm doing any fall stitching, I like it to be Halloween themed. So, but I thought this was cute. It's a cute little pattern. And it's on Ada. So it's an easy stitch. So I pull that out in the fall when I feel like stitching on something else, something new. But like I said, it's in this mesh project bag, so it stays at home. Okay, what's next? That was number 12, Autumn Spice. And then next, it lives in this Halloween project bag. I actually have 2 projects in here, but one of them is not even started, so I'm not going to pull it out because it's not a WIP, because it's not started. The one I do have started, this is Spook-O-Graphy. Here it is. It's very cute, little trick-or-treat, Halloween, haunted house, black cats. Cute little pattern. And this is my sad little start. I have a partial jack-o'-lantern and the letter M. You know, it's a start. This was a stitch along with Fat Quarter Shop. It's a Fat Quarter Shop exclusive. You can still get it there. It's stitched on Ada with DMC. I think it's really cute. I'll finish it eventually. I think it'd be fun with the green. The green is just an Ada, but I feel like it'd be fun to do one of those really annoying to stitch with, like neon light effects threads. I know they're annoying to stitch with, but I feel like it'd be really cute, especially with the cauldron like bubbling over. I think that could be fun. I haven't done any of the green, so I still have time to make that change. All right, my next one I started in 2025. It is the Wings of Spring stitch along from Pony Stitches. It's super pretty. I'm stitching it on, I think it's called Little Boy Blue linen. I love the colors, which are actually kind of outside of my comfort zone. I normally don't do a lot with like oranges and stuff like that. But I thought it looked so pretty on this fabric. I've got a couple little bugs already started. This one's fun because I picked up a, I bought someone's D-stash on Facebook Marketplace for like 50 bucks, and it was a whole tote full of stuff. And inside was this tiny little floss box. So I love just everything so organized, so organized in this little floss box. And I was proud of myself because I thought I was being so clever. I totally am. But like you can see, I put my needle minder, like I put the magnet on one side, and so it's just there inside the box. And so when I have to change threads, I just pop my needle on there and change threads. But yeah, this is, oh here, this is what it is. It's Zweigart Casual 28 count Little Boy Blue from, I bought it from ABC Stitch Therapy, which used to be, I am so sad. So ABC Stitch Therapy used to be located here in Houston. And so I have a bunch of fabric like this, like nice, fancy hand-dyed fabric that I had no idea what I was buying, but like they were having a sale and I went in and I was like, oh, that's a pretty color. And I bought it. I think this was only $9 for this whole piece. And now they moved, and it's so sad because I don't really have a great source anymore, except for online, which is fine. Shopping online is fine. But yeah, that is Wings of Spring. Really, really pretty. And it lives just in an Amazon bag. A lot of stuff is just in an Amazon bag. My next one, this is another one of my frosted pumpkin projects. This was last year's Arctic Animals Stitch Along. I was lazy, didn't even take it out of the hoop. Here it is. I am using all of the called for. I bought the kit directly from Frosted Pumpkin, so it came with all the goodies. I started it right away when the Stitch Along started, but then on the Arctic Fox, you can kind of see, because it's you can kind of see how it's the holes there. I stitched the entire head of the Arctic Fox, and I miscounted, and so I pulled the whole head out and put the project in timeout until the entire pattern was released and available. And then I picked it up and slowly started stitching on it again this past fall. And so yeah, we'll slowly chip away at this one. It's really pretty. The fabric is really pretty. The floss colors they used are really pretty. There are 2 needle minders in here. Or not 2 needle minders, 2 pairs of scissors. Been looking for these. Set that there. But yeah, that one, another frosted pumpkin. Super cute. That's the Arctic Animals, number 15. And then this next one is also an Arctic Animal, not an Arctic Animal, it's also a frosted pumpkin stitchery. It is the, what is it called? It's like the Kawaii winter countdown pattern. Here it is. That's my start. This is a fun one to do as like an advent stitch. I started this in 2023, 2024. The fabric is an Aida that I dyed myself. And again, you know me, I love having terrible margins. So it'll be interesting to finish it with just a little bit of margin on that one side. I love this one. Like I said, I love Frosted Pumpkin. I'm using all of the called for floss. And that's another one that one day will get finished. Maybe. Hopefully, possibly. Okay. This next one, number 17, is another one that I was working on a lot, and then I put it in timeout because I was annoyed with it. This was a Janlynn kit. Janlynn? No, Dimensions. This is a Dimensions kit. There it is. Dolphin Trio. I picked this up at a antique store a couple years ago when I was visiting my brother in Pennsylvania. My oldest son at one point in time wanted to be a marine biologist. I mean, and like, what child doesn't want to be a marine biologist, you know? Like, I feel like it's a rite of passage to want to be a marine biologist. This is my progress on it. Like I said, I was going like really strong for a while, and then I just got annoyed because there's a lot of half stitches, and this whole like kelp thing has crazy confetti, and it's like full stitches and half stitches. So the chart is black and white, but it also has some red, and it's just really hard to read, right? And so I just got annoyed, and the floss, it was one of those kits that the floss was not organized, so I made my own little like floss card to keep it organized. I just got annoyed with it, and so it's another one that it's so close to a finish, but I put it away because I got annoyed. And so I need to like set aside, like say, okay, today I'm finishing one color in this. And I think that's really what I need to do. I think I need to do like color complete so that I can just be done instead of like hopping around and doing different colors. I think this one calls for doing color complete so that it can just get done. I even already have a frame for that one, but it's still not done. Okay, that was Dolphin Trio number 17. This next one lives in a fat quarter shop bag. This one's really cute. I love the sunflowers, but again, it's mesh, so it stays home away from messes. This one is called Autumn Beauties. It's really cute. It uses fancy floss, classic color works, and I have a decent start on this one, or making decent progress. Ooh, I was in the middle of making a pumpkin. This is what I have so far. Really cute. I have the little crow and some pumpkins, some sunflowers. I really like it. Again, and I like that in this one, the little fall y'all sign, they give you, I think there's four different options for you to personalize it. So it can say fall y'all, autumn, pumpkin, or harvest. That's why I can't read that. Yeah, pumpkin or harvest. And so I think I'm gonna do fall y'all. It's very southern of me to make it say fall y'all. Another one. I said earlier that I don't have a lot of autumn themed, I have a hair in my mouth, cross stitch, but then I got two of them. Okay. My next two projects live in this Lori Holt Maker's Tote. Fabric is by Lori Holt for Riley Blake, and then the pattern is by Noodlehead. The pattern comes in large and small. This is a small size. It's a really cute bag. It's a pain in the tush to make, but it turns out really cute. The first one is Prim and Proper by Lori Holt. Thus, that's why it lives in the Lori Holt bag, because it's a Lori Holt pattern. I started this as a stitch along with Fat Quarter Shop. I'm stitching it on the called for fabric with the called for floss. It's a pretty decent start. I like it. Cute, cute. And then the next one in this bag is Flea Market Baskets. Again, It was a stitch along with Pet Quarter Shop. I am also using the called for fabric and floss on this one. Which side is the top? Hold on, I have to look at my back to know which way is up. I think. Wait. This way is up. Okay. That's my start on it. Or start. I keep saying this is my start, but like, I guess I should say this is my progress. I love that big center motif. And they'll get filled in with all the other little blocks. What I'm not loving that I started, there's a lot of white on white stitching. Well, it's white on white for now, but like, you can see they're kind of, because then you come in with the beige for the checkerboard gingham. So that was hard on the eyes. But yeah, those are my two Lori Holt projects. They live in the Lori Holt bag. I wish I would have made the problem. You can see like the pattern is taller than the bag, and so I have to like fold it over to get the bag to zip. So I wish I would have made the larger version of the bag. But I do love this little bag so much. My next two projects live in this zip it up case that I made. These two projects are part of the X Stitch Daily Advent Stitch Along that my friend Jandy and I hosted. I posted a video about it back at the beginning of December. I originally started 2 Advent stitches, and then with the chaos that is the month of December, abandoned one and continued working on the other. This is the one that I kept working on, and it's still in progress, so it's still in the hoop. I'll hold it with the hoop. This is the this is the section I'm currently working on. This is the Countdown to Christmas Stitch into Christmas by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. I'm using the called for floss, but then I switched to the fabric. They called for like a dark navy fabric, and my intent with this was to not purchase anything and to use what I had in my stash. And so I had this blue, it's a 14 count Aida Twilight by Picture This Plus. I had it in my stash. Again, it was one of those that I bought once upon a time at ABC Stitch Therapy. And there's a little less contrast with the floss colors compared to the one that Caterpillar Cross Stitch did, because the navy that they called for is so much darker, and this is a much more of a middle tone. And so like some of these, like this green doesn't pop as vibrantly as it would have on a darker fabric, but I really like the Twilight. I like the modeling that's in it. And so this is my Advent stitch that is close to completion. The door here is day 24. And so I'm just a couple motifs behind, which honestly is not bad considering like I traveled several days in December and the holidays and everything. So I'm proud of my progress. And then my next, my other Advent that I abandoned is the Christmas calendar by Tiny Modernist. And I only got a few days. I got the Merry Christmas across the top, and then I got a few days into it. But these motifs are just so much bigger than the other one in the Caterpillar Cross Stitch chart. And so my plan for these is, or for this one at least, is I want to finish all of the border, and so all of the white frame and around the Merry Christmas. I'll finish the border so that this December 2026, number 1, I've got a head start because I've already done number 1 and number 6. So for this December, I can pick this up again for my X Stitch Daily Advent Stitch Along for 2026 and be ahead of the game and be more prepared to stay on track, stay on schedule. So that's my goal for this piece. This piece has a destiny. All the other pieces are in limbo. This one has a destiny. And I'm using the called for Ada, or not the called for Ada, the called for floss, DMC, and then this is a silver metallic Ada that I had in my stash. I love this bag. I want to make more, but it's a very involved bag to make. Okay, hold on. I have to grab this one. It's big. Okay, let me move my needle minder because it's holding the chart on. Don't want to see that. Okay, this project, let's see how I can hold it up with the frame. This one is the Past, Present, Forever. Hold on. Past, Present, Forever cross stitch from Art of Disney. It's another one that I bought once upon a time. Once upon a time seems like the best way to say it. I bought this. This is another kit that I bought in the Disney parks back when they were still offered. It lives, I keep the supplies for it in this super cute glitter filled bag. I started this, I want to say 10 years ago. I started on this top corner of the project and I was trying to stitch it in a hoop, which this fabric is so large. The recommended frame size on this is 18 by 24. And so I think the finished size of the piece is 16 by 20. So it's a big piece. And when I first started stitching it, I was stitching it in just a regular 7-inch hoop. And obviously that's not going to do anything. I tried stitching it with a Q-snap and I didn't like how that felt because of the size. Again, there was still so much fabric all around. And so embroidery, I want to say it was like embroidery.com or Embroidery Central somewhere, was having a sale on this frame, on the scroll frame, and I knew like that was exactly what I needed for this project because of its size. And so I bought the scroll frame and I've gotten it all loaded up, and I have it, the angle at which I have it set is perfect, that I can set it up at my desk over there, like it rests above my keyboard. And I can have it sitting there. I have my light and I can stitch while on Zoom with my, I'm part of Cross Stitch the Globe's membership. And so every Sunday we do a Zoom. And so it's nice that I could sit there and stitch and be on the computer at the same time, or I can stitch and watch YouTube, and it doesn't hurt my back. And it does take some getting used to doing like the two-handed stitching while stitching on this. It's because it's different. But I've been able to get a good amount of progress done because I have it set up in this way. That was a very long-winded explanation about this WIP. But I love this one. It's humongous. The pattern itself is split into like 6 different pages. And so I'd love to be able to get good progress done on this and to get it framed. And this one will definitely be professionally framed. I will invest in having it professionally framed. It has, these kits have DMC, which is really nice because as long as die lots are okay, if I run out of floss, like it's easy to be able to get a replacement. It has fancy metallic floss. It has beads. This is a big undertaking, but I love it. Like I said at the beginning, I'm a Disney adult. This is right up my alley. I actually have an eBay alert set up on eBay that whenever a new Art of Disney pattern gets posted, that it gives me an alert, because there are a few that I have several that I bought back when they weren't $1 billion on eBay. But there's a couple that I have my eye on. And so I have an eBay alert set up for these different patterns. I love them. This is so pretty. So that's past, present, forever. I'll set this over here. Okay. And then that was number 23. And then my final WIP, 24, is the Blessings Sampler 2026 from the Camping Stitcher. This is the pattern. And this, I had zero intention of starting a Blessings Sampler until my friend Jandy told me that she was starting a Blessings Sampler. And I was like, well, I want to do that. And if you're unaware, because I was unaware, and so I went to the internet like we do these days, but a Blessing Sampler is a stitch that you start in January of the new year, and you have to finish it within January, and it's meant to bring blessings and good fortune to you in your home. And so this one I thought was really cute. It's small because I knew, like, this is number 4 on my WIP, and that's just my cross stitch ones. Like, let's not even get into the quilting ones. So I knew if it was something that needed to be finished in January, it needed to be small. And I found this one I thought was super cute. And it's not overtly religious. We're not an overly religious household. And so I didn't want something too Jesus-y, if that makes sense. So just the simple bless this home with peace and joy. I really love that sentiment. And I am stitching mine on a 14 count opalescent white Aida. There's my little start that I started last night at 1 a.m. Using opalescent Aida with Classic Colorworks Strawberry Parfait, which is a super cute pink that is only, it's like very slightly variegated. And I am excited to have it stitched up and hanging in my house. Whew. Okay. That was WIP number 24. I touched most of these projects in 2025. Even if it was just like one strand of stitching, I touched it. And so in terms of plans for 2026, for quilting and for cross stitch, I am setting a goal for myself to use what I have to try and stash bust, which shouldn't be too hard. I have a ton. And so with that in mind, I really want to limit the number of things I start this year, unless I have, like, if I have the floss and the fabric, then I'll be more open to having new starts. But I think for sure this year, 2026, is going to be about finishing what I have. I don't know, maybe it's something about getting older that you start thinking about your own mortality. And like, I have so much, like I have the evil closet over there that is stuffed to the brim with fabric and supplies. And it's like, I accumulated all of this stuff because it brought me joy and I wanted to make something with it, but now it just sits and it's not, nothing's getting made, and that feels bad. Like the physical clutter of it feels bad, and like the fact that the projects aren't done and being enjoyed also feels bad. Not to be a Debbie Downer. So because of that, the goal is to finish projects this year. And so I've never done WIP Go, which is like a WIP bingo put on by Jessie Marie Makes Stuff. Jessie Marie Does Stuff. I'll link her below. Everything I talked about, if it's available, it'll be linked below. And so it's like a bingo card for WIPs. And so I'm gonna use these and fill one out. Fill Fun fact, I have 24 WIPs and there are 25 spaces on a WIP Go board. And so that's perfect, pretty much. So, plans for 2026 is to finish. Like, honestly, I can't get more specific than that because that's just the goal. I really want to get a lot of progress done on my big past, present, forever Mickey. That's a hefty project, and if I finish it in the year, then I will be very proud of myself. Yeah, this year is about working with what we got and finishing, which is not so glamorous, right? Because you see people, it's like, oh, all the shiny and new, I gotta buy the shiny and new, which is great if you have infinite funds. Too often I have fallen into that, ooh, I gotta have it trap because it's the new thing and everyone's getting it. And that's dangerous. We're gonna try and shut off that FOMO of needing the new shiny thing and concentrate on the gorgeous stuff that we have right in front of us. And try and attempt to finish projects. I've said that a lot. TLDR, we're finishing projects in 2026. We're finishing what we have. I have so many. This is my WIPs. I have so many more. I have a whole box of kits that haven't even been started. So like, working with what we got is the mantra for 2026. If you made it this far, this has been a very long video. We're on like, I don't know, 45 minutes of this second round of whatever we've been doing. I really hope it's still going. I'm gonna be real upset if it stopped recording. Oh good, we're still going. It wasn't popping up on my watch, so I got real concerned for a second. Okay, if you have made it this far, this is probably gonna be one of my longest videos in recent history. Like, this is a long video. I haven't even edited it yet, and I know it's gonna be long. If you have made it this far, leave a, what emoji do we want to leave? Leave a castle emoji in honor of past, present, forever cross stitch. Leave a castle emoji in the comments. Let me know which of these WIPs was your favorite. If you're working on any of the same ones I am, your goals for 2026, all of the above. Let me know what's going on. Thank you so much for sticking around of my endless rambling and probably children yelling in the background at some point in time. I really appreciate y'all being here, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much.